So one of the problems I'm coming up against, one of the major headaches with this swap, is the power steering. Because I've got the power steering rack on this car, the stock original Brumby one, and I'm planning to use the EJ pump with adapted EJ lines. And before I knew what I was doing, and I went and got this engine rebuilt, this pump was already on the engine, and I just told them, could you deal with that, either replace it or rebuild it or whatever, and they got it rebuilt. So that cost me quite a bit to get that rebuilt, better than new. And then when I got it home and got it here, I realised that it's the wrong design of pump. What I really wanted was the one that has the reservoir sitting on top of it right here, because there's a nice void here that would have suited that. But this one uses the remote reservoir, which is a bit of a pain, because as you can see, I've got, like this spot here maybe, but that's very close to the battery. The battery's as far over as it can get. So anyway, it's been a big headache. So this is the hard lines that came on this engine. I've cut lots of bits off of them because I'm not using there's a metal cover plate thing that goes in this area where this bolted to originally, like over here somewhere. Because I'm bolting it direct to the manifold, I've cut heaps of that. There was some weird angles and right angle bends on the end here. I've cut that off, and I've reclaimed the banjo, drilled that out. So I'm going to do something like that. I'll silver solder that on there, and then this is the supply line to the rack, high pressure. That's going to end up over here somewhere, and then I'm going to do a weld on fitting, either so I can screw the original lines on, or I'll make AN fittings, an AN Teflon hose to go down there to the original rack, something like that. And the return and the reservoir is the biggest headache, so I'll show you what I'm planning to do there. I think I might try and put it about here, because I can pick up one of these bolt holes for a bracket that comes up here, and then probably this bolt hole on the manifold for this to support this end, and then the power steering supply hose to the pump is going to come out through here and into there, which is going to be an interesting bend, but we'll figure that out when we get there. Well, you make a mud mat, start cutting metal. I would have started with cardboard templates if I had had any cardboard square tube, but since I've got this, it's cheap, easy to work with. I'm just gonna go straight for it. I'm hoping to pick up those two bolt holes there, and because they're on different levels, I obviously need to have those little tabs on different levels. So it's just going to be a square tube running across there with an ear coming off. I'm using square tube because it's going to be quite rigid. Well, I think it's going to work, but of course, because I'm a glutton for punishment, using this 20mm square tube, it's too wide to fit between those two bolt holes. So even though I've slotted those holes as close to the tube as I can, the heads of the bolts are banging into the side of the tube, so I can't get both bolts in at the same time. Of course, typical. I'm going to get some socket head cap screws, I think, and if I have to, I will scallop out the side of this tube. It's got one bolt in there for now, and it is pretty rigid even with that one bolt, but we will get two bolts because I do need to attach the cable stays for the ignition leads. We got the first bracket done. It's not the prettiest, but I think once it's painted it'll be okay. I did heat up that little face there with the torch glowing red, and then bashed it in with a bit of round bar to create a scallop for that bolt head. The bolt on this side isn't in there at the moment because I need a socket head. Welded a captive nut on there, just a regular bolt, and that's I mean, obviously there's a bit of flexure that way, but by the time we do this end, it's definitely going to be strong enough. Because the rear bracket, I want it to pick up a bolt going that way, one going that way, and then the bolt goes in the top in the Z axis. So I've got X, Y and Z axis bolts, 3 different planes. It's a bit of a nightmare to make the bracket. So we just start with cardboard. Oh well, I skipped a step. I didn't film any of the footage of me cutting the steel, but check it out. Not too bad for a first attempt. You can see it's picked up that hole there and that bolt going that way under here, and then that is resting on top. That is going to be rock solid when it's done. I just cut a slit when I'm folding 3mm steel, cut a slot so I can get a perfect corner, and I'll just weld that up. Alright, so as you saw, I've silver soldered the ends of my pressure power steering line. It turned out really well, and I've had to give it a coat of paint because obviously the heat has burnt off all the zinc coating, so that would rust if I didn't paint it. That's done. Now this is the original copper washer, double washer thing. If you didn't already know, with copper you can reuse it as a crush washer if you heat it up till it's just glowing red, just barely glowing red, and then let it cool down again or quench it, doesn't matter. Then that re-anneals the copper so it becomes soft again, so you can reuse it. There's my banjo bolt, and I've got new mounting hardware for the brackets and things, and I've got all my socket head cap screws in here like I said, and now that's nowhere near touching the side of the bracket, which was the aim of the game. Only downside being they're a hex head, Allen head bolt now instead of the rest of the car being hex heads, but I just have to keep one extra tool in the tool bag. And we've got the original Brumby power steering hose screwed right onto the back of the pipe that I made. Isn't it nice when things just work? And as you can see, I bought a Z-bend oil hose that comes out under here. I did have to shorten it, so there's a double-ended joiner in the middle, but that's a Z-bend, just an off-the-shelf part to go to the reservoir. And there's the reservoir bolted in, rock solid.